What do you need to know if you're going to accept a plea on an OUI offense? I'm Michael DelSignore, a Massachusetts OUI lawyer. In today's video, I want to kind of go through the process of what's going to happen if you're resolving your case. If you decide to resolve the case, the judge is going to ask you some questions. Before you decide to resolve it, make sure that's what you want to do. Make sure you understand that your lawyer is going over what your defenses are, that you understand why it's a strong case, why the lawyer thinks you should plea out. If there's a breath test in the case, understand that's not the last word. A lot of times those tests don't come into evidence. They haven't been coming into evidence in the last 4 months in Massachusetts because of some challenges. But make sure you understand all your defenses. Make sure you have if there's video evidence, you've seen it, you've looked at it. So don't rush into a plea. But let's say you've done all that. Now you want to plea out the case. The judge is going to ask you some questions. There'll be a green sheet. So there'll generally be maybe 3 charges: OUI, negligent operation, mark lanes. So typically what I'll do is I'll ask the prosecutor to dismiss the negligent operation, the mark lanes, not responsible, in exchange for a plea on the OUI offense. The first offense is going to be a continuance without a finding, 1 year probation, 45-day license loss, fines and fees. Judge will then ask you some questions. You'll come up to the bar. The judge will say, Sir or ma'am, I got a green sheet in front of me. Did you read it before you signed it? And you'll say yes. They'll also ask, you haven't had any drugs, alcohol, and medication in the last 24 hours that affect your ability to understand what's going on. That answer has to be no, you haven't had any such things, because if you had, the judge isn't going to be able to accept a plea if you're not in your right frame of mind. They generally ask how far you've gone in school. Do you read and write English? They want to kind of get a sense of your mental ability to make sure that you understand everything that's going on. The purpose of this colloquy is the judge wants to make sure that if you're pleading out, you understand what's happening, that you're not having a trial, so you don't come back a month or years later and say, well, I had no idea I was resolving my case. So they want to make sure that there's finality to the process. The judge then goes over your constitutional rights. So the judge will say, do you understand you have a right to a trial in front of a judge or jury? It's a jury trial. It's going to be 6 people randomly chosen from the community. Your lawyer gets to participate in the selection. All 6 jurors have to be unanimous. The judge will also ask if you understand you're presumed innocent. The government's going to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. You have a right to confront and cross-examine any witnesses who are against you, and you get the right to bring in your own witnesses if you want. Finally, the judge will say if you're not a citizen, it'll have immigration consequences the court has no control over. So that's essentially what will happen on a plea. They'll then read from the report, and they'll ask if you agree it's true, because you have to say yes. If you're accepting a plea, you're not accepting it because you want to get it over with, but you're admitting there's enough evidence to prove you guilty of OUI. The judge will then ask if you understand the elements of an OUI offense: operation, public way, and under the influence of alcohol, and the maximum penalty of 2.5 years. So that's basically what happens at a plea colloquy. Judges do it very differently. Some judges will have their own little variation on it, but typically those are the questions they'll ask. You'll be in front of the court anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. You'll answer all those questions. The prosecutor will read from the report. Final question will be, they'll ask you if your last drink was in a public or private establishment. If it's private, it ends the matter. If it's public, they want to know the name of the bar for state record-keeping purposes. So that's what will happen in a plea. If you accept a plea on an OUI, you'll then go to probation, generally next door to the courthouse, and they'll explain the fees. You'll owe $13.80 to the court. You can pay that $115 a month. You'll have to pay $725 for the 24D program, and then $500 to the registry. You'll be on probation for 1 year. Now it's technically a supervised probation, so you have to get permission if you want to leave the state, but typically any judge will approve that request. And during your probation, you're not going to have to come into probation. They're going to give you 12 forms. They're going to say, mail those forms in. That's how you report to probation on an OUI. Probation officer will say, do the program, pay the money, send in the forms. You're not going to hear from us. If you're on probation and you pick up a new charge, you'll hear from us, and then we have to bring this case back to court. So if you want to accept a plea on an OUI, that's the process that you'll go through. If you have questions on whether that's even a good choice in your case, feel free to call me. My name is Michael DelSignore. I help people fight their OUI cases every day in court.